Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Had a great inside the pigskin. I expect us to do even better now that we have six people. I don't normally put six people on here, but when you got a bunch of heavy hitters, you all want them to have a piece of the action, and that's what we're going to do. So, meanwhile, I want to thank Warren Brewster. He's going to be coming on a couple times a month with us. And Warren, welcome back for Act Two.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for having me. I'm enjoying it. First
All
time was
right.
great, so I'm sure this will be just even better.
I'm a perfectionist. My crew will tell you that I am. So I believe there's no bad broadcast if you prepare properly for it. You ought to know, being a former big league pitcher, how much
Right.
preparation is entitled. So let me introduce the crew first. I just want to let everybody know, though, that the title of the show is Baseball is meant to have fun, and I'm going to get into that immediate reference right away. So I'll introduce everybody right to left. George Eichhorn, welcome back for round two, George.
Good to be here, Scott. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
You're welcome, man. Will Vogel, hello. How are you, Mr. Vogel? All right. Now, Eric Katz is back.
Thank you for having me, Scott.
You're welcome. Willie Epting is back.
What's happening, fellas? Good to be here. Thank you for having me, Scooter.
Oh, yeah. I love the name Scooter. That was when I played hockey way back in the day. This is the only guy smart enough to ever take it out of the archives, and nobody ever has. I don't know why that name always grew on me. I was quick when I played hockey. Not so much now. All I do is talk about it instead of play it. And as I mentioned, Warren Brewster, the former Philadelphia Phillies, back on. He comes on a couple of times a month with us. So this is his week, and we'll have him booked in a couple of weeks. Warren, glad you're back again, partner.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for having me. I'm enjoying it.
And Jordan Long, a resident baseball analyst out in Colorado, Grand Junction. Is that correct?
Correct.
Beautiful territory. Well, let's get this thing going. I know in my neck of the woods, we could be dealing with thunderstorm situations, lightning. I expect to go lightning fast here to make sure we don't have any interruptions. Just let you know. And if I run into a dilemma, George Eichhorn will take over. But I am thinking positive thoughts right now. Mother Nature, do me a favor, because I don't know the prayer thing very good. Wait about an hour and then do whatever you want. Okay, but that's not like it has anything to do with me anyways. All right. With that said, let's go to our opening topic. The Texas Rangers are 34-19, 642, first in the American League West. There is no doubt former San Francisco Giants manager Bruce Bochy is the main reason. He won 3 World Series at San Francisco. He's been quoted as saying, showing up to work and having fun doing it. The game is meant to have fun. Well, you know what? I got to start off with you, Warren. What do you think about Mr. Bochy?
Well, he's done an outstanding job. I've always been a Giants fan since I was a little boy, and seeing what he came in and did for the San Francisco Giants, brought him to 3 World Championships in a period of 5 years, was just absolutely amazing. It starts at the top and works its way down, and when you get the right people in charge and running the show, good things happen. They shored up their pitching, and they've got some good young talent. And then you have a man to lead them through, and he knows what he's doing. He's got a proven track record, and I think Texas is looking. They're going to continue to get better as the season goes on.
Well, Jordan, you're right out in that part of the country. Tell me what you think about Bruce Bochy.
I honestly think he got a raw deal in San Francisco. I mean, he was there for 3 World Series championships. Now he goes to Texas, where honestly I didn't like the hire at the time, but obviously something's working. Like Warren said, the young kids are buying into what he's saying. Of course, you just said you have to have fun. Well, winning is fun, and right now they are having a lot of fun. It relaxes you. The thing is, though, we are in May, so we'll have to see if this continues until September, October, because of course the goal is to win the World Series.
Willie?
Yeah, being right here in the area, Globe Life is just about 45 minutes down to 30 for me. I believe that bringing Bochy in has been the type of thing that has been necessary since they were making perennial AL championship or ALCSs back in the day under Washington and others. But they got the Rangers got rid of a lot of baggage. And what I mean by baggage is I mean by some of the players that were there that may not have fit in with this new current group. I mean, when you bring in the likes of Simeon and Seager and DeGrom to hedge your rotation. That guy just needs to be able to stay healthy. There's a lot of excitement around here, and rightly so. I think that they're for real. And they have actually been able to do something against their hated rival to the south down the 45 freeway with the Astros. They've been able to stick in there with them and won their first series against the Astros for the first time. And I want to say, I don't know, 6,703 years or something like that. It's been that long. But I think they're for real. I think their pitching staff is for real, provided that DeGrom can stay healthy. I think they probably need to add another arm, maybe in the bullpen. Their offense is fantastic. They've got guys that can steal bases. They've got guys that can hit the long ball. And I think Corey Seager is probably the happiest man in the solar system to see that the shift is going the way, because that dude lost, I think it was 26 or 27 base hits due to the shift last year. So they're for real.
Okay. Eric?
Oh, I've always liked Bruce Bochy as a manager. He's been successful everywhere he's gone, with first in San Diego, then San Francisco, and then, obviously now in the present day with the Rangers. I mean, he has them playing together as a team. That was a big emphasis for him when he was with the Giants and having all that success there with those 3 World Series rings. But he knows how to manage today's players. The guy wasn't gone all that long. And, it certainly helps when you have an MVP candidate like Adolis Garcia, who's just, tearing the cover off the ball. But, I've always been a Bochy fan. He's been successful everywhere he's gone, and we're seeing it how it plays out. I think that, obviously it's going to depend on if DeGrom could stay healthy. There's always the big if there. But, and I think they need just another bullpen arm just to solidify things there. But overall, this is like the best offense in baseball, especially with a Rookie of the Year candidate in Josh Jung. It seems like they have it all to really make some noise this October.
George?
Yeah, well, so far they've outscored my Detroit Tigers 14-6. They put 9 up tonight, and Young is unbelievable. I mean, this third baseman, this kid, he hit his 12th home run tonight. Bruce is doing a fantastic job. Bruce burned the Tigers in the World Series. We'll never forget that one as far as being a Detroit fan, as the Tigers lost that series in 4 straight to Bochy's San Francisco Giants. So he's a great coach. He's a Hall of Fame manager in my book already. And you guys are all hitting on the right spots. Unfortunately, Detroit is taking the brunt of it right now. Like I said, they lost last night to them 5-0 here at home. And now the Rangers on the way to another win, 9-6 in tonight's score. But yeah, Bruce is a great manager, a good field leader, and obviously has a lot of talent to work with in Texas. It's an exciting team.
So let's go to the chat room. All right, we'll start off with Will. Like this comment. And Warren, what do you think? Bochy is a great baseball mind, 28 years as a manager, and also was a player. He knows the ins and outs of the game.
Right. Well, managers generally, a lot of the major league managers are ex-catchers. They see the ball, they see the field from a different perspective than the other 8 players, and so they know what's going on, and they run they're the quarterback of the baseball team. They run the defense and make sure everybody's in the right spot, and they call pitches, so they're very involved in the game. So they tend to make good managers. They look at the managers that are ex-catchers. I was fortunate enough, I coached in the Atlantic League 1 year with Doc Edwards, and he was just, I learned more from Doc in 3 or 4 months that we were together than I learned in my entire baseball career. He was fun to be around and really knew the game. He knew the ins and outs, and we never made mistakes. We made very few mistakes on defense just because of his tutelage to explain to the guys, just keep it basic. Just do the simple things, make the simple plays, make the routine plays. You don't have to be spectacular. And we ended up winning a championship our first year there.
Well, for those of you that are watching this for the first time, I was a catcher in Little League myself for about 4 years. And I'll tell you, I know the position well. And I enjoyed it. It was the only position I could play in because I couldn't play anything else well anyways. Stick me behind the plate and I looked good because I was out there talking a lot. Not that any of you guys would be surprised anyways, but back then when you're a little tyke, you're talking a lot. working with, talking to the umpires, the hitter, my pitcher. I was doing everything that you can do. I was a rebel on the diamond at that time. So, and all right, another guy I want to make mention too, and you guys, a lot of you guys are going to get to know him. This kid's a rising star, Chase Blake. Had him on last week, did really well. Jordan, obviously, George, you had a chance to look at him. Chase, glad you're on. Get ready for next week, my friend, and I'll have plenty more airtime waiting around. But this will be your formal introduction. We're going to pair you up with Warren at some point or another. So, Chase, thanks for dropping in. All right, a few other topics I want to get to, and then we'll have a segment in the show where all of our participants can talk to Warren. Next thing we're going to talk about, well, I got to mention the New York Yankees because I have a Yankee guy on here. Okay, New York Yankees pitcher Domingo German said he'll use less rosin on his hands when he returns from a 10-game suspension for using a foreign substance on the mound. You know what? The whole show, I'm going to start off with Warren, then work my way around. So is less rosin the answer, Warren, for what?
Yeah, it does. It can when it's hot and humid or wet, or you're perspiring and you go to the rosin bag a few times, it starts to get tacky. And if that's what he used, but he's got to be also truthful and say, that's what it was, and I don't think anybody's going to give up any of their secrets. Max Scherzer got suspended for 10 games for foreign substance, and he claimed he didn't have foreign substance. So, it can happen, but it's not too likely. They're getting it from another source, I would think, but to me, that's the problem with, if there is one problem, the umpires in baseball are not ex-players or haven't played the game a lot, and a lot of them don't understand how the game's played. When I played, we policed ourselves. The umpires they kind of stood back and let the players police themselves, and guys were cheating like Gaylord. You knew when Gaylord threw a spitball, the ball dropped 2 feet. You go, whoa, what was that? It was amazing. So, when people are, and that's an old adage, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. But the guys now with today's game, they're checked between innings, so you can't get away with it as much as they could back in the day.
Yeah, Gaylord Perry's in the Hall of Fame. Oh, well, that's okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Go figure. I'll leave that for another topic. Yeah. All right, well, you know what? I'm going to go to my left, Willie.
Yeah, Gaylord Perry, that's a blast from the past for sure. And didn't he win over 300 games?
Yeah,
I believe
sure.
he did. Yeah,
he did.
Close to it.
He did win. I think he did win over 300 games. Well, Domingo Germán probably needs all of the competitive advantage items that he can get. He has not been very good since he got injured a while back. And he was all right last year in the playoffs, I want to say. But this thing, I got a question, really. How much can a pitcher really get away with when you have all these cameras? You have, they are mic'd up on the field. How much can we really think they can get, or do we really think they can get away with?
Good point.
Yeah, that's a very
Warren?
good point. It's just there's cameras from every angle. Yeah, you're not going to get away with anything. That was how Gaylord hit it. He got checked all the time, and they never could find it on him. So he was good at hiding it, and the guys today just maybe aren't as smart as Gaylord was.
That's funny. And by the way, I'm letting everybody know now I am wearing a Daytona Tortugas hat. That's where I spent my Memorial Day weekend. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Jordan. What can I tell you about Domingo?
There's got to be more than just rosin on his hand. Like we've been talking about, especially what Warren said, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. The thing is these pitchers are checked after every, whenever they need to, after every half inning, to make sure they don't have something on. If there was something more than rosin, I can understand. The fact is, I thought rosin was supposed to help you get a better grip, but he had to be using something else. So if he's going to say he's going to use less, I just wonder how that's going to affect his ability to grip the baseball.
Eric, this is your team.
Yes. Well, number one, with the whole sticky stuff situation, I mean, this is, well, to start, it's nothing new. They've been pitchers have been doctoring the baseball since probably baseball first became a sport. I know when Warren was playing, Mike Scott was a notable one who would
Yes.
put the sandpaper on there. Whether he admits it or not remains to be seen. But as far as that goes, it's very hard to get away with it now. Literally, there's camera phones everywhere. There's cameras all over the field. There's microphones. It's just it's basically like going into a middle of a field with no weapon and a bunch of guns are pointed at you. It's it can't be done. But really, with the whole Herman situation, I think it was a little bit more. But MLB doesn't really have a definition of what's too much. I mean, you gotta be a little specific there, because now the pitchers are confused, the managers are confused, and the umpires are just trying to enforce the rule. But are they doing it correctly? But I think MLB needs the MLB competition committee needs to sit down and figure out what exactly is sticky stuff, define it, and what exactly is too much. Because from that game, the spin wasn't affected very much, and I'm just like, well, if the spin's not affected very much, what are we discussing? I can understand if all of a sudden this thing is spinning around in a circle and nobody can hit it. Then I'm gonna be like, okay, we should probably take a look there. But if there's no spin affected, what's there to discuss? Because the ball is still, humming along nicely. I know, but in Herman's case, Herman should know that this happened to him against the Minnesota Twins, and like the IRS, once they have the book open on you, they're going to keep digging.
That's funny. Quit while you're ahead, Eric. The IRS analogy is good. Quit while you're ahead. All right, George, that was good.
I'm done.
You know what? Maybe this is another reason why 10 veteran umpires turned in their resignations before the end of December. We lost 7 crew chiefs. Okay, Warren?
Mhm.
And we lost a lot of experience.
Right.
10 veteran umpires said, that's it. I've had it. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say some of them had different health reasons. Don't get me wrong. There's a couple always that had bad backs or bad spines or whatever and left for health reasons. But the umpires got their hands tied here, fellas. I mean, they're trying their best. And you're right, Eric. It has to be clearly defined. Joe
Right.
Torre and the competition committee and whoever supervises the umpires, I mean, this has to be clear cut. I agree with you. You must have conclusive as evidence in this case, and it has to be clearly defined. Now, I'm sure they probably went to all the training camps down in spring, Arizona and Florida. They always do this. The umpires come and discuss any rule changes. All leagues do this in spring camp or training camp. And, obviously there's still a lot of question there because Aaron Boone is fed up to here with what's going on with the Yankees and the umpiring. So all that being said, I agree. There has to be another look at this, a serious look, and it has to be clearly defined. As you mentioned, Eric, I think that's very important for the umpires heading into the next season. Not much you can do this year. They got to go by whatever the rule or definition is, but for the next year.
Well, the only thing I'll say about this is, first of all, everybody knows that Moses created the 10 Commandments, right?
Right.
Right? Well, but there are 2 that recently came about that I could definitely take pride in all of them. For those people that have known me a long time, you'll know what the other 2 are, but there's really 12 in this modern lifetime. Thou shalt not overpay, which we're all going to do anyways, right, at some point or another. And the other one is one that Mr. German violated. Thou shalt not get caught. So there's 12, folks, okay? So I hope we have an audience that does have a sense of humor. I like to joke around with it. I don't know, but I do know we're going on to the next topic, okay? Let's talk about Spencer Strider. Atlanta became the first pitcher to reach 100 strikeouts this season, has 106. Next up, believe it or not, Shohei Ohtani, 90 for the Angels. And you have Kevin Gausman, 89 for the Blue Jays. Mitch Keller, 85 for the Pirates. And my favorite one on this list is Pablo Lopez of the Minnesota Twins. So, you know what? I'm going to go around this order. All right, George. Pretty interesting group here.
Very good group. Oh my goodness. And one guy who used to always be on the top of that list, of course, is Justin Verlander. And obviously, because of his coming back from his injury, he's not on there. He's just starting his season for all practical purposes. But it's a dynamic list, Scott. I mean, those are young, up and coming. Those are great arms. Will Vogel chimes in and says, there is 12 for sure.
It's an easy
Okay,
one to
Will.
throw. All right, go ahead. Continue your thought. But we had to
Yeah,
get
no,
that
I'm
one out.
just agreeing with you. And the exciting thing is we're going to see a lot of those guys that you just mentioned, if not all of them, at the All-Star game in Seattle come July. And so that'll be really exciting. I always look forward to the All-Star game, but for me personally, it's a chance to see a lot of these pitchers, especially that we don't see here in Detroit. But yeah, I love those. I love that list. It's a good one, and all the more power to them.
Yeah, Luis Arias was traded for Pablo Lopez straight up between the Marlins and the Twins. And on the surface, it looks like a win-win situation for me. Minnesota got an excellent pitcher in Pablo Lopez. And I think that Luis Arias is, from what I've seen, he's a pretty good, solid hitter. All right, go ahead, Eric.
I mean, it's a heck of a list. I mean, we're talking right now. I mean, those, particularly Ohtani, you could probably argue aside from obviously Judge, Ohtani's been big in trying to get baseball back into like the landscape of, the big sports here in America. But, it's a good list there. I mean, gosh, especially Pablo. I've always been a big Pablo fan, especially, it's amazing what he's been able to do. And also, Spencer Strider, I think he's going to have, he's entering the prime of his career. I think Cy Young's in his future.
Okay. All right, Jordan.
It's interesting that Spencer Strider is number one with 106 strikeouts. You would think Shohei Ohtani is up there, which he is. He's second. The one guy that I'm kind of surprised at is Garrett Cole, who has 79. I thought his strikeouts would be higher, but they're not. But it doesn't surprise me that Strider's doing what he's doing because he had 200 plus last year. And like George said, we're going to see these guys at the All-Star game. So they got to keep doing what they're doing. You've got to love the strikeouts. I mean, that's what they're known for, especially Shohei Ohtani and Spencer Strider. I mean, it's just amazing what they're doing this early in the season.
Okay, Warren.
Yeah, well, they're a lot of good young arms, and that's especially early in their career. The guys that are strikeout pitchers, they have a tendency to stay that way and last through have longevity striking people out. They learn how to go about it, and there's times where you need it. Like Greg Maddux. Maddux could strike out a bunch of people, but he always kept it in the reserve when he needed it with a runner on third and less than 2 outs. When he needed a strikeout, he could go get it. These guys are just electric. They're tough to hit, period. So they come right at you. They don't mess around. That's the one thing I like to see is when a pitcher has the ball is challenge people. Challenge them with your fastball. You don't see that a lot. I watch a lot of Giants games, and they continue to talk about there is no fastball counts anymore. They throw off-speed stuff at 3-0, 3-1. You never know what you're going to get, But these guys, the guys on this list, or have outstanding fastballs. They almost every one of them touch 100 miles an hour. And they're tough to hit, and they're going to continue to have a lot of strikeouts, and it just it makes the All-Star game that much more exciting. This is really something to look forward to, seeing all these young pitchers. I love to watch the young pitchers and watch them challenge people and throw strikes and not nitpick and try to not go right after hitters, because that's what I wanted to go right after the hitter. I wasn't going to mess around and try to, pitch on the edge and off the edge. I just went right after them. That's where you've got to. It's where you're going to be successful.
I'm going to turn it over to Willie.
Yeah, the list is for sure A1 list. Spencer Strider, I don't think there's any surprise there. Shohei Ohtani, of course, and the other guys that you guys mentioned. But let's think about the guys that are not on this list. I mean, think about the guys that are not on this list that we're so accustomed to seeing here. There's no Justin Verlander. There's no Max Scherzer. There's no Trevor Bauer because he's not even in the league anymore. There's no Clayton Kershaw. I mean, there's no Steven Strasburg. I mean, look how baseball has evolved to this younger crowd or this younger group of pitchers and have essentially taken over from what we've used to being seen. It's kind of like in football, you don't see. There was a time when you're not going to see Drew Brees as one of the all-time passers or one of the best passers during a season. I think we've reached that threshold in Major League Baseball to where it's like the kids now are saying we're here and we're not going anywhere.
Okay. You know, I want to get this in again while we have the opportunity. I want to point out that the audio version of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? Go in the chat room. That's one way to do it. Or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. My Twitter information is at Tribune South. Okay. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, this is a good group, and you can only imagine what other pitchers will be on the rise as some of these Tommy John surgeries straighten out a little bit. And I'll get into that another point. Before I move on to the last topic, Will Vogel had an interesting one. Will, I want to preface you, though, we're going to talk about Ohtani's free agency another time, but it's worth pointing out that it is going to have a lot of suitors who want his services and lure him away from the Angels and help with their batting and pitching. Well, yeah, and not only that, Joe Madden did a good job utilizing him in the right way. So, but we're not going to dwell on this a lot. Will, I think it's important that your comment is timely because Ohtani's name is brought in. That's why I put it up on the screen in the first place. All right, one interesting one here that I'm going to go to the NCAA baseball a little bit because this one really struck me very interesting. Tulane makes the NCAA tournament with a 19-40 record. I know we have a lot of response to this, so you know what? I don't know where to start, so I'm going to go below me. And Willie Epting, body language tells it all. All right, Willie, let's talk about Tulane baseball.
Man, me and my brother were talking about this yesterday, and he said the Tulane Green Wave have just gotten into the baseball tournament with 19 wins. I said they won the tournament, their conference tournament. He said, yeah, they won the American whatever it is conference. And I said, was it just one game against another one team? And he said, no, it was double elimination like always. So look, what can you say about a team that gets in at 19-40 other than they peaked at the right time? Yeah. That's the best. I mean, unless they were point shaving all those other games. I mean, it's sensational. I mean, it's what it is. I mean, and they won the tournament. They won their conference tournament, and they're like, look, we have nothing to lose. We just gonna go in here and just play baseball. As the title says, we're going to meet to have some fun. Nobody expects us to do anything. Let's see what happens. I mean, I give them a hand clap.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to say much on the topic because Rebecca Burstein did it for me. Wow. That's all you're going to hear from me. Thanks, Rebecca. DMTA, great minds think alike. There you go, Rebecca. I'm always welcome to bring you on anytime Joshua doesn't want to come on. So there you go. Wow, that's my answer. With that said, okay, Mr. Brewster, what do you think of this one?
You could see things like that happen. And I was fortunate enough to play college baseball for 2 seasons at Fresno State. And teams get hot at the end of the season. We did just the opposite. We started off hot and we took a nosedive about midway through the season and struggled and finished the season struggling. But that happens. You know, you can get hot for 4 or 5 days and pitching just, you know, it's pitching and defense. They probably didn't make a lot of errors and they scored just enough runs to win, and their pitching held on to allow them to get that far and to get to the NCAA champion to the tournament. And that's all you want's a chance, and now they're going to take the best advantage of it.
Okay, Jordan.
I mean, 19-40, you're usually not playing baseball in the NCAA tournament, but all you need to do is win your conference tournament. That's all you need to do, and that's what Tulane did. They were playing with a chip on their shoulder. Now they're in the tournament, and you know, even if they don't go that far, at least they got in. That's all you want is a chance to win a national title.
Yeah, I got that. All right, Eric.
Well, to Willie's point, unless Tulane pulled an ASU basketball point shaving thing, my hat's off to them. I mean, baseball. I mean, Warren probably can attest to this. Baseball is a weird game. It's in the tournament, it becomes a massive game of roulette. So I mean, hats off to them. I mean, good for them for only having 19 wins and making the tournament. I mean, that's impressive.
Okay, George.
Yeah, and locally we see that too. We have a team in Detroit called the University of Detroit Titans, and basically anytime the basketball, and I know I'm changing sports here, but when the basketball tournament comes around, their only really chance is through the tournament to get that automatic seed. We see this a lot in NCAA basketball. I shouldn't say a lot. Occasionally we see it when a team like this sneaks in with such a subpar or sub 500, but this takes the cake. Oh my God, Tulane, you really have taken the cake on this one. So I give you credit, coach and players. You really stepped up your game when it matters most, and that's when the conference tournament was held. But every so often, yeah, you'll see this happen. But it's a head shaker.
All right. Well, this is a segment where everybody has a chance to ask Warren Brewster a question or two. So, George, you finish. Now you restart.
Okay, Warren. The topic of our show is baseball is meant to have fun. And I know Scott puts a lot of good time in picking these topics. One of my things that I've seen over the years, Warren, is it doesn't look like the players are as approachable to the fans like they used to be in your day. I'd like you to try to see if that's something that you've noticed too.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's not. It's a whole different game today. They're more standoffish and love to be able to sit down and talk or stand there and talk to the fans during after batting practice or whatever and sign some autographs and just get to know people and just say hi to them. They're there to watch you play, and you should at least acknowledge them and carry on conversations with them and ask any or answer any questions that they have. You have time to do it. There's a lot of dead time in baseball between batting practice and getting ready for the game to mingle with the fans.
Thank you. Yeah.
Anything else, George?
No, I'll pass it on to.
Well, actually, I'll pass on to Eric, but you know what? I think you should address this one. Back from Will Vogel, when you played with some great pitchers like Tug McGraw, Jim Cott, Steve Carlton, Lee Smith, Fergie Jenkins, what was it like being with those guys, whether it's in practice or in the game? I think that's a pretty interesting question, Warren.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. It was great fun. It's a super group of players. Almost all of them are Hall of Famers. Yeah, it was fun. I loved watching Fergie when I was with the Cubs. Lee Smith was trying to learn a curveball, and Fergie would take him out every day during batting practice and have him work on his curveball. And he'd throw balls, they hit Fergie in the shins, they go deflecting every which way. And Lee Smith never could quite grasp the concept of a curveball, but he never really needed it. He had such a phenomenal fastball. He didn't really need a curveball. But I think Fergie was looking out for him for a future down the road. It was fun to watch them, what they went through every day, what Fergie went through with Lee Smith. And then Jim Cott was fun to play with. He had a lot of idiosyncrasies, things he did every day. He would put 6 balls on the warning track and then throw them back into the infield every day. That would be his warm-up routine that he start with every day. And then Steve Carlton, he worked with Gus Heffling. And Gus was our stretching and flexibility, our strength coach. And so we were told we didn't have to run. We had to run 3 times around the complex in the morning, but we didn't have to do that if we worked out with Steve and Gus. And you could work out, Lefty did it 45 minutes a day. You'd work out with 20 minutes with Gus and he'd have you on the ground where you couldn't get up. So it's much easier to run your 3 times circuits around the ballpark in spring training and run on your own than it was to work with Gus and Lefty. So he was in phenomenal shape, not only physically, but mentally. He was fun to be around because his heightened mental part of the approach to the game was second to none.
Will,
you never know what was going on with Doug. He was quite a comedian. He was very interesting and fun to be with.
Will, that was an excellent question. You're welcome. So, all right, let's go on to Eric.
I mean, we're seeing in the game now the closer role is changing. Instead of having that established closer that we've all been used to, like the Mariano Rivera's, the Tug McGraw's, as the Lee Smiths and things like that, we're seeing the role change to now more matchup based, where instead of just that one guy who comes out there and slams the door, it could be one guy or another guy. Warren, I wanted to get your take on that.
Well, yeah, I think they're doing it the right way. They're looking more to matchups. You know, they might even be facing 3 or 5 hitter in the 8th inning, and why have your closer come in to face the 7, 8, 9 guy when and your setup guys coming in to face meat of the order? You know, you want your best pitcher facing their best hitters. And they finally figured it out in spring training. When I went through spring training, I'd pitch in the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning in spring training. I go, well, by that time they were all AAA guys. All the regulars were out of the game, and they finally dawned on management that the relief pitchers that are big league relief pitchers are facing AAA hitters. We want them to face big league hitters, so now they're bringing them in the game earlier, at least in spring training, and now to get that same thing with the pitchers coming in the games when they to face the right hitters, to face the tougher hitters. That's what it's all about. It's getting people out. Once you hit the best or the toughest hitters out. You know, I don't think saves and wins, especially wins today for starting pitchers, don't really mean anything. You don't see too many starting pitchers with a lot of wins. So it's pitching by committee now more every game than it is defined roles.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, Warren, because I went up in Daytona over the weekend and I saw the Tortugas take on the Lakeland Tigers. I don't think I saw a pitcher go more than 4 innings over in the Florida State League. So what you're saying kind of has a certain meaning to me. Now, obviously, it's low Class A. I get that, but who knows what's going to change down the road. I mean, I just got to see this, and I know my score sheet was busy for sure when I capped that. But no, Eric, that's a good point, and I'm glad, Warren, you brought that up. All right, next is Jordan.
So Warren, obviously, when you played baseball, there wasn't Twitter, there wasn't social media. How did you handle the media when you were playing?
Oh, I enjoyed. They didn't talk to me too much. I was kind of behind the scenes guy. You know, that's just I'd come in, pitch an inning in the 3rd here, 2 innings there. You know, and I was very fortunate that what I did, I was a middle guy. I generally came in when runners were on base to get a ground ball, to get a double play, get out of innings, get out of jams for the starting pitcher. So, you know, what I did was kind of lost in the shuffle by the time, you know, somebody came up after I had pitched and maybe hit a double, a home run, something like that to knock in the winning runs, you know, which was more important than what I did. I just stopped the bleeding, and then the guys behind me picked me up as far as scoring runs and winning ball games. I got a lot of wins where I came in, pitched an inning in a 3rd here, 2 innings there, and we'd score 3 or 4 runs while I was pitching. You know, so it was. I didn't have to talk to the press very much. They didn't. There wasn't a lot of interest in me. You know, there was too many other guys that were. I had too many superstars on the teams I played with that they would bother with me.
I concur with Will Vogel. You guys are asking some great questions. All right, Willie. Now, Willie.
Yeah, I can't hear Willie.
This is not a silent movie, Willie. So you're on mute.
Technologically challenged Willie.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to keep the great question train going. And this is actually, Warren, something I've been wanting to ask a big leaguer from the prior generation. And I know Scooter and George probably are a little bit of traditionalists when it comes to some things in baseball, like I am. But there's one thing that I'm actually absolutely proud that Major League Baseball has done, and that's to speed up the pace of the game. How do you think you would have fared these days with that pitch clock, and do you think it would have changed your role on any given team that you were on?
No, I worked as fast as I could. I teach. I've coached on and off for 30 years at Napa Valley College. I get the kids end of August, 1st of September. The first thing I teach them to do is throw a pitch, backpedal, and catch the ball on top of the rubber. Then you're ready to go again. Get your sign and go. So it's a little thing that it makes speeds the game up. You've got your defense, and you explain to the kids the defense is going to make plays behind you. If they're not back on their heels and you get the ball down at the base of the mound and you turn around and you walk back up on the mound, that takes 10, 12 seconds. These guys are out there standing, with nothing to do. They fall asleep. You want them to make plays for you, and the game should go along quickly. And I always say we don't get paid by the hour. We just get the ball and throw the ball. And that for me, I got the ball back on the rubber, got my sign, and went. I didn't want to have to think about, oh, gee, should I throw this? Should I do that? I wanted the catcher to be able to rely on the catcher and what he was going to call. He knew my stuff, so he knew what I was doing and how I worked. So basically, I relied on him. And every once in a while, I'd get a pitch that, well, no, I can't throw that pitch. That's not a pitch I want to throw in this situation. But very seldom. I mean, I shook off, I would say, maybe once in 100 pitches, So I got the ball and threw the ball. I went. So the pitch clock for me didn't mean a thing.
All right, so you know what? I got to go back to Will Vogel again. He doesn't know the origination of the name Scooter Willie, so we're going to go ahead and bring it to everybody so they can hear it another time.
Okay.
I hadn't heard the word name Scooter in a long time until Willie pinned it on me. But you know what? I actually had that name when I was playing hockey in Oak Park, Michigan, because as a young guy, I was pretty quick. Now, you wouldn't give me that name now. Then all of a sudden, I get to know Willie, and he's calling me Scooter. I said, Willie, I haven't heard that name in 40-some-odd years. My gosh, I mean, really? And you know what? Maybe when Willie's on, I might have to just put Scooter on his shows. No, then again, I don't want to because you know what? I'm going to let Willie mention it. Yeah, and good point, Will. Phil Rizzuto went by Scooter as a shortstop, but I was anything but a shortstop. I played hockey, but that's a famous Scooter name. So that's the origination behind it. Rhonda, thank you very much. She's one of my good friends in Montreal, Canada, and Quebec. Well, I hope one day, Rhonda, you get the Expos, but there's a little bit of work to be done on the stadium side. So we get them from all over the world, man. Montreal as well. So, well, that's the origination. I was named Scooter when I was playing hockey, and then all of a sudden Willie Epting decides to pin it on me, and it's like the good old days playing hockey. So there you go. What a show we've had tonight. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
The questions from every one of you guys are absolutely fantastic. See, when I don't lose my voice, it means I've really done a pretty solid job assembling a really strong supporting guest. Of course, I'm not worried about losing it after the show because I won't need it for another so many hours. With that said, I want to thank everybody for joining us here, from Rhonda to Rebecca Burstein. And of course, Will always does a great job contributing when he can. So with that said, as we wrap up 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, we're going to go ahead and let everybody know how they can get a hold of you. All right, Willie, go ahead.
Yeah, Scooter and Warren, thank you once again. I look forward to talking to you so much more down the road. Jordan, you were fantastic. Eric, good to see you again. And George, man, I know you have some stories from the media side of it, so I would love to hear some of those as well. I am on Twitter at Shakeback Media Group. That's SHKBKMEDIAGRP. Also on YouTube at Shakeback Group or Shakeback Media Group. On Facebook, same thing. Instagram, same thing. LinkedIn, Willie Epting Jr. Facebook, same thing. Am I missing anything? TikTok. Yep, we're on TikTok at SBMG11.
Well, all right, George. I'll defer you in a minute, but Vogel's on fire. He needs a nickname like me. No, he doesn't need one like me, because if you knew some of the other things I did, well, you would. George is too nice a guy to pin a nickname like me on him. But maybe we'll think of some. I usually call him GE, as in General Electric.
That's right.
That's the closest thing I have to him. And I'll tell you what, Warren Brewster's our baseball analyst. Okay, so you want to let everybody know how they can go get a hold of you, Warren, even though you are baseball analyst. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Continue on.
Well, thank you for having me again. It's a great time. It's a wonderful show, and I have a great time. I really enjoy it.
Well, we
And I
love
can be
having you on,
reached-
and we're thankful that all the times you can come on. You're welcome more than
Thank
2
you.
times a month if you feel like it.
All
'cause I
right.
got more
Yeah,
people
I'd love
than
to.
you do. Okay.
I can be reached at Brewster, BRUSSTAR40 @gmail.com.
All right. That leaves Mr. Long up next.
You can find me here on 108 Stitches, as well as any of the Sideline Sports Network shows. I am also on Twitter at SportsScoop1, and I have a blog that I write Mondays through Thursdays with podcasts on Fridays at sports-scoop.com.
All right, Eric.
You can find me here. Also, you can find me on my Twitter at Sports Team News, and you can find me on my blog at bellyupsports.com, where I'm writing all things baseball.
And on to the author.
Yes, I wrote the book. Not on you, Warren. Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. Warren, you would love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Ernie Harwell's in there. George Cal, Al
Oh, wow.
Kaline, Harry Heilman. The Tigers had some great announcers over the
Yes,
years.
they did.
And the book's available. There's a link after my column. I write
All
for
right.
Sports. I write for a South Florida Tribune in the sports column called Motor City Tribune, and there's a link to purchase the book. Also,
Okay.
you can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com, or else on Twitter, I'm SandGSports99, or on LinkedIn as well under my name, George Icorn. So I enjoy being on this show, and anytime Scott needs me, I know the Sports Exchange and once in a while Inside the Pigskin, but I love 108 Stitches, man. You guys are great. What a great show.
Well, throughout the broadcast, I want to thank Will Vogel for all his kind words. We can just call him the unofficial part of the crew tonight because he's been very official and efficient in the chat room. So, with that said, we'll go over our information again. The audio version of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Go in the chat room. I have no problem inviting people in the chat room, give you an opportunity or two to come on. If you're that great, then I want you. And so does everybody else on these crews.
Mm-hmm.
Or also send topic ideas to South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter at Tribune South. Go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. And a special shout out to Candy Ebling. I'll tell you, you talk about an MVP. She is definitely an MVP. She does a marvelous job making sure all the content is put up efficiently in the South Florida Tribune. She fills in as a guest when we need her. And more importantly, she gets all these broadcasts up as well. So you talk about an MVP, Candy Ebling is definitely it without a doubt. So I want to thank our great crew tonight for being on tonight. And we hope everybody has an opportunity to enjoy the show and share it, because we do everything in our power to try to give you different types of facts and stats. And that's what it's all about. Educate and inform and entertain is really what I've always thought makes the main components of a good, strong broadcast, as well as a supporting cast. So anybody with any final words before we call it a night?
Nope.
No? Well, I think that'll well, that's all right. Well, that'll do it for this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. So on behalf of George Icorn, Eric Katz, Willie Epting, Warren Brewster, Jordan Long, and yes, I'll say Will Vogel. This completes this edition of the 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, and we will catch you next week. Good night, everybody.